Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of In the Know with Kat Bobineau. Today, my extra special guest is Dr. Robin Walker-Vassel. I've known Dr. Robin for quite a while, even though I don't think I've talked to her in a while, but we've known each other for a long time. And I want to say, welcome to the show, Robin. How are you?
Fine, and thank you for having me today.
Awesome. So, why don't we start off by talking about what you do?
Okay, so I am a molecular biologist and biochemist. I have done that for several years now during my graduate studies at the University of Connecticut in Storrs, Connecticut, as well as afterwards during my postdoc at Howard University Hospital.
Awesome. So, what got you into molecular biology and biochemistry?
Well, I did a summer internship at Indiana University during my undergraduate years at Medgar Evers College of CUNY. And I did a little 10-week summer research program actually on plants. And it was very interesting. And we used molecular techniques to derive some data for projects that some of the graduate students and postdocs were working on at the time. And it was really interesting. It actually steered me away from my initial love, which was to be a medical doctor. So I decided to go to be on the path of graduate school at that point. And so it really got me into it. And then I really took a liking or a loving of molecular biology and biochemistry during grad school. And so that had me continue on that road, that path. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So, you originally wanted to be a medical doctor. What kind of medical doctor did you want to be?
Well, at the time, I was only interested in being in obstetrics. That was the only thing that seemed to really appeal to me.
Right.
I wasn't interested in necessarily being a surgeon or a general practitioner or anything like that at that time. However, I do get a lot of people telling me that I should think about it and I should go back. And if I were to go back, I actually am into naturopathic medicine at this time. And so I would
Hmm.
be interested in getting an OD or a DO if I were to go back, or ND if I were to go back to school.
Okay. And I know for some of our listeners, we may not have a better understanding of those types of degrees when it comes to medicine. So, can you elaborate on what those are?
Sure. Those degrees are mainly for those interested in naturopathic medicine, looking more on natural terms and in terms of vitamins, minerals, things of that nature, and how they affect the body and how they can even cure some disorders as well. And we have some research data to back that up. And we also have some pathological data as well to show the benefits of vitamins and minerals. And so I definitely have been studying a lot into that on my spare time. And I have been interested in working in that particular area. I currently work with my father, who works with a company called Longevity, and they actually have their own coal mines where they actually get minerals from those mines and they package them and sell them to individuals. And so they're heavily on looking at minerals and vitamins and how they definitely can help different disorders. And I'm definitely interested in that.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like you really are interested in that. So,
Yes.
yeah, so I think that if given that opportunity, you can go back to school. Would that be another 4 years? Like, would you do medical school for 4 years and then specialize, or is it something you can do within the 4 years?
Well, I believe that there is special institutions that actually cater to naturopathic medicine, and so you wouldn't necessarily have to go into medical school. You would go get into those programs, and they have those programs. And I guess also depending on your educational background, as you know, I have a PhD in plant molecular biology and biochemistry, and depending on what your history was, your course history, that that probably also would play a role into how many other courses you would have to take and things of that nature. And when I was in grad school, I did kind of take several nutritional science courses as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do have some of that information under my belt already. So we would have to see. It's an individualized case in terms of how much longer that would be for me. But I'm guessing somewhere in the 2 to 3 year range.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So let's talk about University of Connecticut stories because that's where I originally met you back in grad
Yeah.
school, even though I
Yeah.
couldn't handle the snow and I couldn't handle Connecticut. But let's talk about your time at University of Connecticut. How was it for you? How was it spending time in Connecticut?
Well, Connecticut itself was really nice. It was kind of a much more quieter environment than I was used to coming from the inner city. And so there was a lot of things like some individuals still getting milk deliveries
I know.
that
I
I've never
remember that.
seen. Yes, that I had never seen in my lifetime, only on TV, looking at the old TV shows. And so to actually see that in real life, that is, still occurs
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the country, that was something really cool. And also to see the farm animals, and they're just all around everywhere, that was cool as well. My educational experience wasn't that bad. The courses, the coursework and the course load, they were pretty good. Biochemistry was a little bit of a challenge, as because of the professor that I had that was teaching
Mm-hmm.
biochemistry, and he was like the only one.
Oh wow.
Everybody to take him, and it just wasn't the best setup because he wasn't very flexible or willing to assist. But in any event, I struggled through it. I made it past it, and I definitely learned a lot from it. Um, However, my experience as a grad student working for a graduate mentor in his lab, I faced some challenges. I had to be very independent right away. There wasn't any hand over hand coddling or anything of that nature during my initial time there at the university. They really fostered me to stand up on my own and figure it out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much what I had to do for the duration of my 5 year stint at University of Connecticut. 2 of those years, my graduate advisor had left me, and he was a program director at NSF
Oh
for two
really?
of those 5 years. Yes, and it was the beginning of my graduate career. So I really had to be independent. I did have a couple of good postdocs that definitely pushed me in the right direction in terms of what I should do and what my dissertation should really be surrounded about. And so I did definitely have some good training in that case. And I had a lot of other people in my cohort who gave me a lot of help, and also other postdocs from other labs as well. So there was a good collaboration there. I feel like I wore many hats, not just a graduate student while I was there. And of course, I faced the situation about being a minority. I was the only minority in my department for
Mm-hmm.
4 years. Um,
Yeah.
and it was a challenge because I don't think that there was there wasn't a lot of real understanding about where I come from and my plight and things of that nature. So it wasn't a lot of that going on. I did, however, have an excellent chair department head who was very much on my side and very much for women's rights and understanding that, we too have a voice, and that it's not just a male dominated industry. And so she definitely assisted me very much so. Unfortunately, she passed on during my time there as well.
Oh
But it
wow.
was, yeah, it was a great, it was a great learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely was.
Yeah, I remember when I first got up there, and I don't remember her name, and this I don't know if it's the same person, but she was over the forensics lab, and
Oh,
she basically was like, a good portion of the students here are have never seen an African American person in their life. They've seen them on TV, but they haven't seen them in real life. So they're not gonna know how to act. They're not gonna know how to respond, and so almost like saying you have to treat them with kitten gloves. And I
yes.
was like, I know. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I come from Oakland. There is a mixture of everything there, and you just got to get along with everybody. And it shouldn't even
Exactly.
matter the color of their skin. Like, you just get along with them. And I fortunately didn't see too much trouble, but I know after I left, and probably after you left, I started seeing things on social media about the what was happening with African Americans up in Connecticut at UConn.
Yes, yes. Yeah, there were some issues during my time as well. We did have some protests. There were several issues in the newspapers where they printed some things that were very offensive to African Americans. So there was some also legalities with statements that UConn released as well that were not favorable towards African Americans. It actually kind of discounted us as a whole, and that wasn't so great.
Mm-hmm.
The institution at large, again, they're a very great institution in terms of their educational value that they can impart to students. However, unfortunately, there is that. Differences that you see. There's a line drawn between those individuals that are African American, which makes up only 1%, actually, less than 1% of the university at large in terms of African American graduate students.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely only makes up about a small 5% of the undergraduate combination as well. So I tell you that it's just unfortunate that there was some lines that are drawn between African Americans and those from other cultures at the university. So, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of it, just a little bit of it, but hearing more about it, especially after I left Connecticut, because I think I left the first winter I was there. I was like, nah,
Yeah.
I
Yes, I did.
can't. I can't handle
I
this.
really
I
did.
cannot do the snow. No, thank you.
Those winters were harsh.
Yeah.
They
I was
were.
done. I was like, I am from the Bay Area. We don't understand cold. Like, this is not for me.
Right.
Um, but yeah, let's talk about undergrad. So, where did you go to undergrad?
I went to undergrad at Medgar College, which is also a part of CUNY, the City University of New York.
Okay. And how was your experience there at Megan Everett's?
Medgar Evers was a very different experience because there were a lot of professors that actually looked like me.
Mm.
And so, and they had degrees from various places around the world. And they actually was very informative, and they also very supportive in terms of pushing you towards your goal of what you wanted to do. And that was something good for me to see, to be able to see individuals that look like me be where I want to be one day. And so that was a good experience there. So for sure, it definitely was a different experience than graduate school, but I definitely had a wonderful experience there at Medgar Evers College. And I currently am there now as an alumni, but I teach. I'm an adjunct faculty and assistant professor there now. So I'm
Okay.
actually having an opportunity to give back to others, so they too can see a African American woman actually teach them various courses in the biology department.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question. What courses are you teaching there?
I teach a various amount of courses: anatomy and physiology, genetics, general biology, plant biology, you name it, I can teach it. Microbiology, molecular biology, and I
All
have taught
right. You teach whatever they need. You got them. That's what's up.
and
So
I have taught them all.
was there any professors there that like really took you under their wing and helped guide you into your profession now?
Yes, Dr. Edward Catapane. He is still my mentor. He was definitely very instrumental. He took me, along with others in my cohort, to many different conferences where we were able to showcase our summer research work. And we did poster sessions and things of that nature. And we also gave talks. So he gave us the initial beginnings of what we needed in order to be successful within the scientific arena, getting us exposed and getting us out there, and also pushing us to see what other universities were out there and what they could offer in terms of graduate school, medical school, or dentistry.
Okay. So that's cool. And you still, and is he still at the school now? Or do you
He's
still?
still at this. He's still at the school. I just saw him today. It's always great to be able to interact with him, and he's still trying to help me propel my career as well.
No, that's good. So, you had someone in college that helped you, and even though for the first couple years in grad school might have been a little rocky, you still have people helping you there.
Yes.
When did you like first know you wanted to do science, and was there anyone in your life, like when you were younger, who helped you figure out that I wanted to go to school for science?
Well, high school. In high school, I did really well in science, and I didn't even know, as compared to others in my cohort at the time in my senior class. They did rankings and they awarded different awards for different subjects. Well, at the graduation, high school graduation, I won the science award, and so I was
Nice.
totally taken aback by that, because I thought others, had surpassed me, but to find out that I was actually number one in science kind of really guided me down that road. Now, I still wanted to be a medical doctor, but I knew that the sciences were going to propel me into that direction. It wasn't until, like I said, undergrad, when I took that research experience, that I realized that I do want to do research, and that is my area of expertise.
Okay. So you, unbeknownst to you, was number one in your high school for science. And that,
Yes.
did you have like a favorite teacher or a favorite subject, something that you was like, oh man, this is awesome. I really want to do this.
Well, I mean, general biology definitely was my favorite. I did very well in chemistry. I had A pluses in chemistry.
Not me.
I,
Chemistry was
really,
my downfall.
it is surprising to me that, it all was, I was number one in science, because we had all different types, but that was really my favorites, were the biology and the chemistry. So, yeah.
Okay. So now, now that you're being an adjunct professor, and you said you're an adjunct professor at Medgar Evers, but you're also a professor somewhere else.
Yes, at St. Francis College. It is a Catholic college.
Okay, and so are you teaching the same like variety of classes, like all under that biology umbrella?
Yes, I teach anatomy and physiology, genetics, and general biology there.
Okay, and uh, you were originally from where?
Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so you didn't go very far. You stayed on the East Coast for like.
Right. Well, I mean,
Oh.
I did have my stints of traveling. I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia. That was about as far as I went. And I lived in Maryland
Mm-hmm.
during my time where I was a postdoc. I ran a cardiovascular research lab at Howard University Hospital in the cardiovascular division. And I lived in Connecticut. That was as far as north as I've been. So, yeah, I mean, just staying right on the East Coast.
Yeah, yeah, you didn't travel,
Not
not
going
even really the South. Like Georgia's kind of the South, but yeah, you still on the East
right.
Coast.
Still on the East Coast.
Yes. So let's talk about your time as a postdoc in Maryland. How
Yes.
was that, and what were you doing research on?
So we were looking at alcohol effects on the function of the cardiovascular system, and really looking at the left ventricle, as it is the major chamber of the heart that is responsible for pumping all the arterial blood into the body. And so we were looking at how alcohol can affect the function of the left ventricle. In particular, we were looking at the other chambers of the heart as well. And we were seeing how the acetaldehyde, which is the toxic component that alcohol breaks down into, how that actually is physiologically affecting it, and also the molecular pathways that are involved in that process. And so I had a team of five that worked with me, several graduate students, a surgical technician, and a couple of undergraduate students. Our model was alcoholic rats, which I designed and also generated those models. And then we did several different research papers. You can find them if you PubMed me. You'll be able to find all of my research articles that I published off of that work. We pretty much found that alcoholic cardiomyopathy is really a function of having upset consistent alcohol, high levels of alcohol, where you're either binging on alcohol or you are a consistent and habitual alcohol drinker, that you definitely are deteriorating and also killing off the cardiomyocytes in your heart. And also causing a thicker wall in the left ventricle, which is also going to decrease its function of pumping that arterial blood into the body. And so definitely there are some detrimental effects behind having too much alcohol. And so that's pretty much what we published, and also molecular pathways that lead to cardiomyopathy and alcoholic cardiomyopathy as well.
Oh, wow. So you basically proved to the general public that we already know drinking too much alcohol is a problem, but drinking too much alcohol can actually have a serious problem to your heart, especially the left chamber or the left
Right,
arterial pump.
right, the left ventricle,
Left
yes.
ventricle, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's a good PSA for anyone who is
Yes.
consider, drinking every day. We already know it messes up your brain and it messes up your liver, and now we're also knowing it messes up your heart as well. So
Exactly.
that is amazing. So let's
Yes.
kind of switch gears outside of career and let's talk about what you do outside of work. So like what's some of the things that you do for fun outside of being a scientist?
Well, I spend a lot of time with my family. We do movies and, do all sorts of things. Go on trips. I really like traveling. That's a big thing that I like. Going
Are
to
are
see
you
different
are you leaving
parts.
the East Coast though? Like are you traveling more
Yeah,
to the
I'm
West?
leaving the East Coast.
Okay.
I've gone a lot of different places. I've gone to the West Coast many times. San Diego is one of my favorites. I've
Mhm.
been there several times. I've gone all the way to Hawaii. I've gone to Las Vegas. I've also gone all the way to Canada. I visited Montreal several times as well.
Nice.
And I've also been to the islands a lot, different islands. Jamaica, one of my most favorite. That is where my husband is from. And I've been, a lot of places in the Caribbean. So there's still so many more places that I need to get to, like Europe, and
Mhm.
definitely I would love to get to Turkey as well. So they're
Okay.
on my bucket list, and Africa, of course.
Mhm. Oh, don't
Yes.
don't forget about Australia and New Zealand. I went to Australia and it is a beautiful. Sydney is
Oh,
very
really
beautiful.
now? Okay.
I haven't been to New Zealand, but I hear such great things about New Zealand, so that's definitely on the list.
Okay. All
Yes. And so,
right.
let's end this by saying if there was someone who was interested in the type of stuff that you're doing, the type of work you're doing, and they're not particularly sure of the pathway, what would you tell them? And what would you say to encourage them to consider going into like biochemistry or plant molecular biology or any of these things? What would you let them know?
Well, I would say stay steadfast, stay diligent. definitely focus yourself. I took 5 years to finish my PhD. Some people say that that was quick. Some people say that I was right on time.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not a race, but you definitely want to make sure that you come away with the tools that is required to do the job that you so want to do. And that's very important. Finding a lab that actually has the funding in order to supply you with the things that you require in order to complete those tasks that you need for the degree is very important as well. And sometimes it's not going to always be a perfect match, but you have to overlook certain things. Hold your peace and make it through those hard times, and keep your eye on the prize that you're trying to get this degree. And that really helped me a lot, as well as prayer. Also, also, if you are definitely looking to move continuously into this field, depending on whether it's the agricultural side of it, definitely look for postdocs within those different areas like USDA, FDA. They definitely have a lot of good jobs in that particular area, and they typically want to see you do a postdoc with them prior to them hiring you full time. Also, if you're interested in doing academia, you definitely can do a postdoc. They typically would like to see that if you're interested in being a tenure track professor. But also start thinking about ideals that you might want to use in order to write a grant. This is going to be very important for those who are looking to become tenure track professors, because
Mm-hmm.
they would like to see that you actually gain funding prior to getting that tenure track position. And although there's only an 8% chance of getting funded, you have to, weigh those odds. But you definitely, if that's where you want to be, you definitely need to have those plans put into motion ahead of time before applying to these types of positions. Working for government is always great. The CDC definitely is always hiring. Like I said, the FDA, NIH, NSF, they all are always hiring as well. But they like to see that you have some prior experience, a lot of them. So getting those experiences, whether they be in an academic lab, a private lab, or a governmental lab, either way, getting those experiences is definitely going to be beneficial to you. But definitely always stay on the track. Don't take any breaks. Stay on track with trying to get these types of jobs, because there's always new individuals that are graduating and are going to become your new competition. And so that's the thing that you have to always remember. And you can always keep abreast. I know NIH gives out courses in terms of new tools and new techniques that are required for your field. And so you definitely want to always stay abreast on those things so you can stay competitive with the newer generations that continue to graduate while you're in the job workforce trying to look for a specific career or settle for a specific area that you want to be in. So definitely heed my advice on that because it's going to be definitely important for you to be successful in your career goals.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Robin Walker-Vassell.
Mm,
I really appreciate you spending this time with us and letting us get to know you a little bit more and learn
yeah,
about what type of work you're doing.
yeah.
And so, to my audience, I want to say thank you for joining us this week. And if you want to know any information about Robin, you can email me or send me a message, and then I'll get it to her. And we can always, what we always want to do is share our knowledge and let everyone know what we're doing and how you too can go into STEM, go into science, tech, engineering, or math. So, until next week, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.